when you want to.
Right.
Step one.
Right, step one, have a laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
Relax.
Right, first thing, put the clay in the centre of the wheel and then just give it a bit of a lump down. The first thing we're going to do is to centre the clay, so we're going to have it going fairly fast. And remember to keep your hands touching at all times, and if you can, your elbows braced on the splash tray.
Okay.
So I'll get the wheel going fairly fast, and then plenty of water on the clay and on your hands. And to centre, get your shoulders and the weight over the clay. And if it feels a little bit sticky, put more water on.
How wet do you need it to be? I mean, is it going smoothly?
As long as it's not sticking on your hands.
Right.
And the first thing you can do is just to raise it a little bit, and then you can bring it down.
Okay, now you need to probably stop and go away from it just over. Hold on a second.
Okay, so we've got the clay centre.
Okay.
Another grip you can use is to have the heel of your left hand against the outside and the heel of your right hand on the top. So you can push with this one, the left hand, and then you can push down with the right hand. And between the two, you can get it centre again.
Okay, so is that the ideal shape for starting
That's
a bomb?
the ideal shape, yeah. So it's kind of like a flat topped cone, really.
Yeah.
That sort of shape. Next thing we need to do is to open up the pot. So you can use either your thumbs to do that, so it's both hands each side, just supporting the clay, and you can push down with both thumbs. Or as I do, is I use my fingers, again hands touching, to push down. Feel the clay's a bit dry, so I'm going to get a little reservoir of water. Push down, and you stop until you feel you've got the right thickness of base there, which would be about a centimetre.
Okay.
Okay, so the clay
So
is now...
that's judged by feel.
That's judged by feel and experience and
right.
How often you do it. The next thing to do is to form the base of the pot. So to do that, you could have your two thumbs and you could push starting from the centre of the base, you could push away from you outwards, going horizontally across the bottom, or I prefer to use my fingers, and again I'm going horizontally across. Oh, we're making a bowl.
You're just
here.
dragging towards you.
Just dragging, or slightly toward this sort of angle, this sort of direction.
Right, so diagonally across.
Yeah. Okay, now as we're going to make a bowl, the bottom of that is slightly rounded.
Right.
And it's got a big thick wadge of clay in the sides. Now what I'm going to do is to slow it down a little bit. I'm going to have that grip on the outside of the right hand, fingers on the inside, but this thumb of the left hand is going to be touching the right hand.
Okay, can you just do all that again, just to remind us? Yeah.
Yep, so it's that grip. Yep. It's going to go at the bottom of the pot.
Creating a lip above it, that's sort of pushing in the waist.
That's just sort of so when we thin the walls of the clay out, that will help to gently squeeze the clay between your hands.
Yeah. And the left hand.
Left hand inside, and I'm going to put more pressure this time on my left hand than on my right hand. I'm going to be supporting with my right hand.
Okay.
I'm going to be coming up. First of all like that, and I'm going to keep a fairly thick rim, and I'm just firming the rim off after each pull up. And a little bit more water. Same again at the bottom, pushing in at the bottom, and then bringing the clay up. That's the second pull up. And keep a fairly thick rim. And I'm going to do a third pull up again, but this time always try and keep the diameter of the rim smaller than you think you're going to need it. You can always flatten the bowl out
Right.
at a later date. It's difficult
You
to
mean
bring
don't,
it in.
Yeah, so don't let it go out too quickly.
That's
too
right,
soon.
yeah, because the centrifugal force of the wheel will tend to want to
Right.
fling it out.
Right. And at the moment you're still looking like it's not too skin and not too thin. It's not sort of
Yeah, it's going to thin the walls out a little bit more, but we can turn this bowl when it's leather
Later.
hard tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
So same again. Wheel going fairly thinly, steadily and gradually bring it up.
If you want handles on it, stick handles on it. If you don't.
Then you've got the rim there again.
Well, you can do one then.
Now what I'm going to do is to trim up the base a little bit.
Right.
To do that I'm going to use a turning tool like this, or a throwing rib sometimes called. This one's just made out of wood. It's got a curved end at one side and a pointed end at the other. I'm just going to take a little bit of clay off the bottom, but I don't need to take too much off because, as I say, we're going to turn this later on.
Right.
So that will be enough. Now I'm going to do a shaping, final shaping. So I'm going to flatten the bowl off a bit more.
And that's with your fingers again.
Yep, that's the fingers on the inside, and just that grip on the outside. Keep a fairly solid rim there. And with the bowl, the important shape is the inside shape when you're throwing it. You've got to get the inside shape right. When you turn it, you can adjust the outside shape when you're turning it. So I'll use a sponge to get the water out. And to get a good rim, you can use a little bit of chamois leather here and just form it over the rim like that.
And you're still on a fairly slow to medium speed.
Slow
at
to
this point,
medium
aren't you?
speed, yep.
Yep.
And that is pretty much all there is to it, so I'll stop it there and then I'll cheese wire it off. I'm going to cheese wire, thumbs on the wheel head, cheese wire away from you, and drop the cheese wire into the bowl.
That's traditional.
And then remove the clay from your hands, just the wet clay from your hands, either on a towel or on the edge of the splash tray. And then you can pick this up, and that can be put on a bowl. And tomorrow that can be turned upside down and turned, the foot ring turned on the bottom.
Excellent. Thanks very much indeed.
You're welcome.